Palm Springs, California/New Delhi, India. For over a decade, millions of television viewers across the globe have been the improbable, often heart-wrenching, and endlessly dramatic love story of Jenny Slatten and Sumit Singh. As prominent figures in TLC's behemoth reality franchise, 90 Day Fiancé, their narrative has been presented as a testament to love's power to transcend age, culture, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Jenny, the free-spirited grandmother from California, and Sumit, the devoted son from India, 30 years her junior, have navigated a labyrinth of familial disapproval, shocking secrets, and financial hardship, all in the name of their union. Their story has been a roller coaster of tears, ultimatums, and eventual triumph, culminating in a hard-won marriage. But what if the entire saga, every painful confrontation and tearful reconciliation, was not a love story at all? What if it was, as a growing chorus of online sleuths, critics, and insiders allege, a meticulously orchestrated 10-year scam? This is the unsettling counter-narrative that has shadowed their journey from the very beginning, a theory that posits Jenny Slatten was not an equal partner in a tumultuous romance, but the unwitting mark in an elaborate family scheme designed for financial gain and a foothold in the lucrative world of reality television. This in-depth investigation will dissect the entirety of the Jenny and Sumit saga, juxtaposing the on-screen narrative with the persistent and detailed allegations of a long con. We will explore the origins of their relationship, from the initial deception that started it all, to the shocking revelation of a secret wife, the seemingly calculated cruelty of Sumit's family, the red flags surrounding their finances, and the explosive, albeit unverified, claims of a multi-million-dollar betrayal and a cover-up by the very network that broadcast their story. Is this a tale of true love against all odds, or is it one of the most audacious and heartbreaking scams in reality television history? The truth, as we will uncover, is far more complex and disturbing than the cameras ever revealed. Every story has a beginning, and for Jenny Slatten, it began in 2011 with the seemingly innocuous sting of a Facebook friend request. At 53, Jenny was navigating a new chapter in her life in Palm Springs. Divorced from her husband of many years, Ralph Edwards, with whom she shared 3 grown daughters, she was a grandmother looking for a spark, a connection in an increasingly digital world. That spark appeared to come in the form of Michael Jones, a dashing 25-year-old man from London, England. His profile pictures depicted a handsome, chiseled model, and his words were a balm to a soul that had known heartache. For a year, the online romance blossomed. Michael Jones was everything a woman dreaming of a new life could want: charming, attentive, and deeply in love. They fell into an easy intimacy, referring to each other as husband and wife in their online exchanges. Jenny, by her own admission, fell head over heels for this charismatic young man who saw past her age and into her heart. The first crack in this digital fantasy came when Michael Jones confessed his true identity. He was not a British model, but Sumit Singh, a 23-year-old call center employee from Delhi, India. He explained that using a Western-sounding name was a common practice in his line of work to better connect with American and European customers. The name Michael Jones was simply the one assigned to him at his station, a moniker he carried over to his personal online life. As for the photos, they were a mix of a model named Alex Bourne and a popular Bollywood actor, Ranbir Kapoor. It was a classic case of catfishing, a deception that would have sent most people running. But Jenny's reaction was, to many viewers, the first sign of the deep emotional investment that would define her journey. After the initial shock, she saw the real Sumit on a video call and, as she would later recount, thought he was cute. She forgave him. The relationship, against all odds, continued. Jenny claimed that Sumit wasn't serious about a romance at the beginning, which is why he used a fake profile, and that he had no idea their online friendship would blossom into a decade-long relationship. This is the story as presented by TLC and the couple themselves, a rocky start born of insecurity, which ultimately gave way to a genuine connection. However, the scam narrative offers a far more sinister interpretation of these initial events. According to this theory, the catfishing was not a spontaneous act of a lonely young man, but a calculated, targeted operation. Speculative theories, primarily propagated through YouTube documentary-style videos and online forums, allege that Sumit's family, the Singhs, were facing significant financial strain in the early 2010s. These unverified reports suggest that Sumit was not the family's golden boy but their contingency plan. The Michael Jones persona, according to this theory, was a carefully crafted lure to attract a specific type of woman. Older, Western, financially stable, and perhaps most importantly, emotionally vulnerable. Jenny Slatten, divorced and looking for love, fit the profile perfectly. The theory posits that the year-long catfishing period was not simply a prank that spiraled out of control, but a deliberate grooming process. It was a period of intense love bombing, designed to create a deep and unshakable emotional dependency. The goal, according to these allegations, was to embed Michael Jones so deeply in Jenny's heart that even the revelation of his true identity wouldn't be enough to break the bond. An even more explosive and disturbing layer to this theory, put forth by a YouTube channel called The Tell-All Tapes, alleges that Sumit was not the original catfish, citing forensic evidence from a hidden hard drive and insider testimony. This source claims the Michael Jones persona was created and controlled by Sumit's father, Anil Singh. The theory suggests that Anil, a patriarchal puppeteer, cultivated the initial relationship, using his life experience and charisma to groom Jenny. Once the hook was set, he allegedly passed the baton to his compliant, eager-to-please son Sumit, who became the face of the operation. This narrative reframes Sumit from a simple liar into a pawn in a much larger family enterprise, a product of a multi-generational con. While these are shocking and uncorroborated claims, they form the foundation of the suspicion that has followed the couple for years. Was Sumit's initial deception a misguided attempt at finding love, or was it the first move in a long and calculated game? In 2013, armed with forgiveness and hope, Jenny Slatten boarded a plane to India. She was leaving her life in America behind for a 4-month trip to finally be with the man she loved. It was a monumental leap of faith, one that would lead her directly into the heart of the Singh family home. Unbeknownst to her, this trip would not be the fairy tale she envisioned, but the beginning of a years-long ordeal that would test her resilience, her finances, and her very definition of love. During this first visit, Jenny lived with Sumit and his parents, Anil and Sadhna. To them, she was introduced merely as a Facebook friend. This arrangement allowed for a period of apparent harmony. Jenny even struck up a friendship with Sumit's mother, Sadhna. But the peaceful facade was shattered when Sumit's parents discovered their son sneaking into Jenny's room at night, revealing the true, physical nature of their relationship. Their reaction, as it would be for years to come, was one of shock and disapproval. The cultural chasm was vast. For a traditional Indian family, the idea of their son in a relationship with a woman nearly the same age as his mother was a source of deep shame. Once Jenny returned to the U.S. after her 4-month stay, the Singh family was determined to end the relationship for good, but the bond, forged through years of online intimacy, had already solidified. For Jenny, this first trip, despite the eventual conflict, was proof that their love could exist beyond the screen. She had met Sumit, and the connection was real. She had met his family and, for a time, had felt a sense of belonging. The seeds of her future life in India were planted. For those who believe in the scam theory, however, this initial trip was a crucial test. It was an opportunity for the Singh family to gauge Jenny's commitment, her willingness to adapt, and her resilience in the face of their disapproval. It was, in this dark interpretation, a successful beta test for a much longer and more elaborate deception to come. The most shocking secret, the one that would blow their story wide open and lend the most credence to the scam allegations, was still years away from being revealed. Sumit wasn't just in a controversial relationship with an older American woman, he was already a married man. The years between Jenny's first visit in 2013 and her permanent move to India in 2019 are somewhat murky, a period of long-distance love sustained by the promise of an eventual future together. 6. For Jenny, it was a time of waiting, of saving money, and of preparing to uproot her entire life. For Sumit, it was a period of living a carefully compartmentalized double life, the full extent of which would only be revealed in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. In early 2019, Jenny, then in her early 60s, made the life-altering decision to move to India permanently. 6. This was the ultimate commitment. She cashed out her savings and her 401k, leaving behind her home, her children, and her grandchildren in California for a new life with Sumit in a city away from his parents' prying eyes. The plan was simple. They would finally live together openly and get married. For a few months, the dream seemed to be a reality. They had their own apartment and the freedom to be a couple without hiding. But this blissful period was a carefully constructed illusion. Sumit would still spend time away from Jenny, claiming he needed to visit his family. The truth was far more complex and devastating. The bombshell dropped not with a quiet confession, but with the force of a battering ram. As captured by the 90-day Fiancé cameras, a group of people, including Sumit's father-in-law, stormed their apartment. In a torrent of angry accusations, the truth was laid bare. Sumit had been in an arranged marriage for 2 years. The woman he had been visiting when he left Jenny was not his mother, but his wife. The confrontation was raw and visceral. Jenny, cornered in her own home, was confronted with the ultimate betrayal. Sumit's in-laws threatened to involve the police, accusing Jenny of being with a married man. The dream crumbled into a nightmare. Heartbroken and humiliated, Jenny left India and returned to the United States, her life in ruins. From the perspective of a love story, this was the lowest point, almost insurmountable act of deception. How could Sumit, after years of professing his love, hide something so monumental? His explanation, as it unfolded on the show, was one of immense family pressure. He claimed he was forced into the arranged marriage by his parents, who were desperate for him to end his relationship with Jenny. He portrayed himself as a victim, trapped between his duty to his family and his love for Jenny, too afraid to tell either party the truth. However, the scam theory interprets this entire chapter not as a tragic consequence of cultural pressure, but as a calculated and cruel manipulation. Proponents of this theory argue that the secret marriage was the linchpin of the entire alleged scam. It served multiple purposes, all designed to keep Jenny emotionally and financially tethered while preventing any real, legal commitment. First, it provided Sumit with the perfect excuse for his inability to marry Jenny. For years, he could plausibly claim that his hands were tied, that he was fighting to get out of a situation he never wanted. This bought him time and sympathy. Second, it created a high-stakes, dramatic storyline that was irresistible to reality television producers. The confrontation, the tears, the us against the world narrative that followed. It was television gold. The scam theory suggests that the Singh family understood this and used the marriage as a central plot device to ensure their continued presence on the show and the income that came with it. Third, and most cynically, it kept Jenny in a state of legal and financial vulnerability. As long as Sumit was married, he could not legally marry her. This meant she could not secure a spouse visa to stay in India permanently, leaving her dependent on temporary tourist visas and at the constant risk of having to leave the country. It also meant their finances remained separate, protecting Sumit and his family from any legal claims Jenny might have. The details of Sumit's arranged marriage and subsequent divorce add further fuel to the fire of suspicion. During the second season of 90-Day Fiancé The Other Way, Sumit claimed his now ex-wife was making false allegations of mental and physical torture against him and was demanding a $20,000 divorce settlement. Many viewers, however, sided with the ex-wife, pointing out Sumit's established pattern of deceit. He lied to Jenny, his wife, and his parents, one Reddit user noted, questioning why anyone should believe his claims of false abuse allegations. Explosive, unverified allegations from a YouTube video titled, "Jenny Sues Sumit for $103,450 take these suspicions a step further." This source claims that Jenny's legal team uncovered a double life ledger, financial records allegedly showing that Sumit was using money sent by Jenny to support his life as a married man in India. The video alleges there were receipts for gifts purchased for his first wife and expenses for family functions he attended with her, all unknowingly funded by Jenny. If true, this would transform Sumit's deception from a lie of omission into a premeditated act of financial fraud, using the proceeds of his relationship with one woman to maintain his secret life with another. Despite the devastating betrayal, Jenny's love for Sumit proved resilient. After he assured her he would get a divorce, she once again packed her bags and returned to India in 2020, just before the COVID-19 pandemic shut down international borders. She was back on a tourist visa, her future in India still uncertain, her fate once again resting on Sumit's promises. This decision, to forgive a lie of such magnitude, baffled many viewers. But for Jenny, it was a testament to a love she was unwilling to let go of. For those who subscribe to the scam theory, it was a testament to the success of the alleged grooming and manipulation, proof that Jenny was so deeply enmeshed in the narrative that she was willing to overlook even the most egregious of betrayals. The stage was now set for the next act, a protracted battle with Sumit's parents, a conflict that would raise even more questions about their true motivations. No element of the Jenny and Sumit saga has been more central, more dramatic, or more polarizing than the relentless opposition of Sumit's parents, Sana and Anil Singh. For years, viewers have witnessed their tearful confrontations, their dramatic ultimatums, and their steadfast refusal to accept Jenny as a daughter-in-law. Their objections, as presented on the show, were rooted in deep-seated cultural norms and societal expectations. Jenny's age, nearly the same as Sana's, was the primary and most frequently cited barrier, a source of potential shame and ridicule for the family within their community. The on-screen narrative portrayed Sana and Anil as traditional parents struggling to reconcile their love for their son with their adherence to cultural values. Their emotional outbursts, including Sana's threats of suicide, were framed as expressions of genuine anguish and desperation. The conflict was the emotional core of the show, a seemingly authentic representation of a culture clash of epic proportions. However, the scam theory offers a chillingly different interpretation of these events. It posits that the family's disapproval was not a spontaneous reaction but a carefully orchestrated performance, a strategic tool used to manipulate Jenny, control the narrative, and prolong their lucrative reality TV storyline. In this view, Sana and Anil were not distraught parents but the masterminds of the entire operation. One of the key arguments for this theory is the inconsistency of their behavior. At various points in the saga, Sana and Anil appeared to soften their stance, only to revert to staunch opposition when a marriage between Jenny and Sumit seemed imminent. For instance, during Season 3 of The Other Way, Sana and Anil moved in with the couple, ostensibly to teach Jenny how to be a traditional Indian housewife. By the end of this experiment, they seemed more accepting, even telling Jenny they loved her and would not stand in the way of their marriage, though they would not give their blessing. Yet, when Sumit later revealed that he and Jenny had secretly married, Sana's reaction was explosive. She verbally assaulted the couple and declared that she was disowning her son entirely. This dramatic reversal was seen by many viewers as a drama queen performance. Critics of the family pointed out the hypocrisy, with one fan commenting, "Show her the episode where she said that she loved Jenny." This pattern of push and pull, of offering a glimmer of hope only to snatch it away, kept Jenny in a perpetual state of limbo. The scam theory argues that this was intentional. Each confrontation, each new obstacle, served to delay the marriage, thereby extending the central conflict that made their story so compelling for television. The theory also suggests that the family's disapproval was a convenient smokescreen to mask the true financial nature of their arrangement. As long as they were not married, Jenny's legal and financial standing in India remained precarious. The family drama provided a culturally sensitive excuse for the endless delays. According to the unverified allegations in the Jenny Sues Sumit YouTube video, every tearful confrontation with his mother was another month he didn't have to legally commit. Another month he could maintain the status quo. It was, in this interpretation, a masterful performance with Jenny and the global television audience as its captives. The role of Sumit's father, Anil, is particularly scrutinized in these theories. While Sana was often the more emotionally volatile figure, Anil was presented as the stern but reasonable patriarch. Yet, the explosive theory that Anil was the original Michael Jones casts him in a far more sinister light. One, according to the Tell-All Tapes YouTube video, a cousin named Priya, who allegedly distanced herself from the family, witnessed Anil's controlling and abusive nature, particularly towards Sumit, whom he treated not as a son but as a subordinate. This unverified source claims that Anil was the architect of the scam, having run similar cons in his youth, and later training his own son to be the face of the operation. This reframes the entire family dynamic. It suggests a dynasty of deceit, a coordinated effort to defraud vulnerable women. The theory alleges that the family has scammed at least 3 other women out of a combined total of over $900,000, with Jenny being simply the most public and potentially the most profitable victim. It even claims that the family's resistance was less about protecting their son and more about protecting themselves from the potential legal and financial fallout of his scam. These are It must be stressed and proven allegations from online sources. There has been no official confirmation of other victims or a criminal enterprise. However, the on-screen behavior of the Singh family, with its dramatic shifts and convenient timing, has been enough to fuel widespread suspicion among the 90-Day Fiancé fanbase. Eventually, after years of seemingly intractable conflict, a shift occurred. The family, particularly Sana, began to accept Jenny. On a 2024 episode of 90 Day Diaries, it was revealed that Sumit's parents had finally come around, understanding his love for Jenny. This acceptance paved the way for the couple's most recent and perhaps most challenging living arrangement, moving in with Sumit's parents to save money. For those who believed the love story, this was the long-awaited happy ending, a family finally united. But for the skeptics, it was simply the final phase of the alleged scam. Having drained Jenny's finances and exhausted all other avenues of drama, bringing her into their home was the ultimate act of control. Jenny, now in her late 60s and financially dependent, was no longer a guest in their country, but a resident in their house, living under their rules. The war, in this interpretation, was not over. It was won. The next chapter would focus on the financial aftermath of this decade-long saga. At the core of the explosive theory that Jenny Slatten was the victim of a decade-long scam is the issue of money. While the on-screen narrative focused on the emotional and cultural battles, a parallel story of financial dependency and alleged exploitation has been pieced together by critics and online investigators. This counter-narrative suggests that Jenny's life savings were systematically drained, leaving her vulnerable and completely reliant on Sumit, his family, and the income from the very television show that documented her ordeal. When Jenny made her final move to India in 2019, she was not just investing her heart, she was investing her entire financial future. She cashed in her 401k and other savings, a nest egg that was meant to support her through her retirement years. This act of financial sacrifice was portrayed as the ultimate testament to her love and commitment. However, from a critical perspective, it was a move that left her incredibly exposed. The scam allegations contend that this financial vulnerability was not an unforeseen consequence of her decision, but the intended goal of the Singh family's alleged scheme. For years, Jenny's financial contributions appeared to be the primary source of support for the couple. While Sumit held various jobs intermittently, including at a friend's marketing agency and as a chef, there was a persistent narrative, both on the show and among fans, that Jenny was the main financial provider. However, in a surprising 2021 Facebook comment, Jenny pushed back against this perception, claiming that Sumit pays all the bills actually. This assertion was met with skepticism by fans who had watched Sumit's on-screen struggles with employment. Whether this was a genuine reflection of their financial reality at the time or an attempt by Jenny to defend Sumit against accusations of being a freeloader remains unclear. More recently, the couple's financial situation has shown clear signs of strain. They have openly expressed their desire to return to the 90 Day Fiancé franchise, with Jenny even publicly commenting on a casting page's Instagram post, a move that many interpreted as a sign of desperation. Their eagerness to get back on television, coupled with their decision to move in with Sumit's parents to save money after Sumit reportedly lost his job, has strongly suggested that they are facing significant financial trouble. This is where the most damning and as yet unproven allegations of financial fraud come into play. A series of YouTube videos, particularly from channels like Starscoop US, have put forth a detailed and shocking narrative of a deliberate and systematic financial scam. These videos allege that Jenny's life savings, estimated to be a substantial sum, were not just spent on living expenses but were siphoned off by the Singh family through a series of deceptive practices. One video, citing anonymous insiders, claims that TLC producers initially proposed a business arrangement as a way for Jenny to secure a foothold in India. The suggestion was that if Jenny helped fund a new business tied to Sumit's family, it would document her contribution to their life and potentially aid her immigration status. This allegedly led to Jenny investing in a restaurant, a venture that ultimately failed. The scam theory posits that the restaurant was never intended to succeed. Rather, it was a vehicle to drain Jenny's final assets, pushing her into propertyless dependence. The failure of the business conveniently led to the solution of moving in with Sumit's parents, cementing their control over her. The allegations become even more specific and alarming. One report claims that when Jenny began to grow suspicious about her finances and requested documents, she discovered evidence of fraud. A contract allegedly bore her signature, but in a handwriting that was not her own and in a format that didn't exist at the time she supposedly signed it. The report speaks of dozens of details that wouldn't survive a casual audit, including loans she never approved and untraceable money transfers. 13. When she confronted the Singh family about the missing money, they allegedly denied she ever gave it to them. Another YouTube video details an alleged lawsuit filed by Jenny against Sumit for over $100,000, claiming fraudulent inducement. 15. This unverified lawsuit reportedly argues that the entire financial entanglement stemmed from the initial Michael Jones catfishing, which it reframes as a premeditated fraudulent scheme designed to lure a financially stable, emotionally vulnerable American woman into bankrolling his life. 15. This legal theory, referred to as the fruit of the poisonous tree, contends that every dollar Jenny spent in India, on visas, on setting up a home, on living expenses, was a direct result of that foundational lie. These videos present a narrative of a sophisticated, multi-year financial scam, culminating in Jenny losing everything. It is a story of forged signatures, missing bank records, and a family that allegedly enriched itself at her expense. It is imperative to reiterate that these are allegations from unverified sources, primarily YouTube channels that specialize in reality TV commentary and drama. There are no publicly available court records or credible, mainstream news reports to substantiate these claims of a lawsuit or a multi-million-dollar fraud. One search result explicitly states, there is no evidence that Sumit and his family were scamming Jenny out of any money. Without this corroborating evidence, the financial aspect of the scam theory remains in the realm of speculation. It is a narrative built on interpreting the couple's known financial struggles and their on-screen behavior through the darkest possible lens. However, the sheer detail and persistence of these allegations have created a powerful counter-narrative that for many viewers has come to define the Jenny and Sumit story, not as a romance, but as a cautionary tale of financial ruin. The question of whether the television network was a neutral observer in this saga or an active participant adds another layer of complexity to this already tangled web. In any reality television narrative, the production company and the network act as the ultimate storytellers. They are the arbiters of what the audience sees, shaping hours of raw footage into coherent, dramatic, and marketable plotlines. In the case of Jenny Slatten and Sumit Singh, TLC and its production company, Sharp Entertainment, crafted one of the most compelling and enduring stories in the 90-Day Fiancé universe. But the scam theory raises uncomfortable questions about their role. Were they simply documenting a tumultuous relationship, or were they, wittingly or unwittingly, enabling a decade-long deception? The most serious allegations suggest that the network may have been aware of the alleged fraud and actively concealed it to protect their storyline. The Starscoop US YouTube channel, a prominent purveyor of the scam theory, claims that TLC producers deliberately edited out any discussions of the financial arrangements between Jenny and the Singh family. The channel recounts an alleged incident where Jenny, on camera, asked to be added to the lease for the new family business she had supposedly funded. A producer allegedly cut the take, telling the cast to keep the topic more focused on the cultural side of things. This alleged intervention is presented as proof that the network was curating a specific narrative, one of cultural clash and romantic struggle, while intentionally ignoring the financial underpinnings that could have exposed the relationship as a sham. According to this theory, the producer's code was, "This isn't part of your story." Jenny, in this interpretation, came to the horrifying realization that she wasn't just a character in a love story. She was a pawn in a carefully managed production. These are explosive claims, and it is crucial to note that they are unsubstantiated by any on-the-record sources from the production or the network. Reality television production is notoriously opaque, and it is standard practice to edit for clarity, drama, and narrative cohesion. It is entirely possible that conversations about finances were deemed less compelling than the emotional fireworks of the family's disapproval. However, the network's role becomes more complicated when considering the sheer number of red flags that were documented on the show. The initial catfishing, the shocking reveal of Sumit's secret marriage, his years of lies to both Jenny and his parents, and the family's fluctuating and often cruel behavior were all captured by TLC's cameras. The show profited from every moment of Jenny's pain and humiliation.